Good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy, Justin, and sometimes even John. How are you all? It is Wednesday. Oh yeah? Wow, Kroniko, I'm amazed you still have internet. That is a lot of wind. Where did I throw my ancient oak? There it is. Ancient oak, verdigris, and I'm going to put a base coat on the, oh, that's a pretty good color for that. Maybe not. Trying to find a good color for, well, maybe a mixture of those two. I'm going to block in the mosaics at least. Thinking of using a combo of gnawed bone and desert sand. I don't want it quite this, like I want it darker than that, but not quite as yellow as that. So I think a combo of these will work fine. Oh yeah, that's good. Otherwise you'd be done. No. Everybody knows what you do when you find yourself surrounded by colorful short people after a storm. You stage a political takeover. Didn't Dorothy teach us that? I thought that was the message. Morning, Rax. Morning, everybody. I feel like I needed an extra half hour of sleep today. So I'm doing 3 and 3 on the gnawed bone and desert sand to get kind of a start for kind of an ivory. I want some of these tiles to be off-white, so I'm using a warm color because the rest of our model is pretty warm. So we are starting with something like that. Hello, green users. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Yes, let's see here. I am off kilter. Let us not be off kilter. Let's not be crooked. We must be a little bit better than that. There you go. Sweet. Excellent. So we'll start that bone color. I'm just going to put it down here and let it dry. Actually, at this point, I'm going to grab a block. I'm going to take Tiefling off of his block and sacrifice it briefly for this guy. Because since I'll be painting the base, I can't use it as a handle anymore, and it is recessed, so I'll need to actually keep some of this sticky tack all kind of glumped up. Yeah, David recovered. He tested negative, finally, but he still has a hacking cough. So now he's like debating whether he should cancel his ski trip this weekend, even though it's a really pricey one, and it's really one that he looks forward to every year. But he's afraid that his fellow skiers will look at him funny with the cough. So he's going to ask his gang. I hope he still goes. He's negative. It's just like when you get over a cold and you're still hacking up gunk, for like 2 weeks afterwards. It's that. But people are weird, so I don't know. Hopefully he can still go. I am going to press this guy really down and kind of smush it around. You always want to knead your blue tack a little bit to get nice and gooky so things hold on. This guy is pretty heavy, relatively speaking, for a bones because he's big. So I quite firmly set it on there. Let's mix up our ivory and we'll just put it down on the ground here. I probably am going to want a shadow color. So I should grab, let's use some Death Knight Black to do the shadow, like the shadow that I've kind of blocked in here between his feet. That's what we're going to do. People are weird. It's true. It's a truism. One of the great truisms of life is how weird we all are. So we'll get some Death Knight Black out. Just for fun. Why not? And if that doesn't work, I'll go to Walnut. But I'm going to thin the Death Knight Black a little bit. Not going to thin the other one since it's going over bones. And it's been a while since I washed this guy. So we're just going to mix up our base color here. Literally. Figure I'm going to start painting the whole thing kind of this ivory color, and then if I want to put patterns on, I can do that over the top. I managed not to get any of it because my immune system rocks. So I'm very thankful. In my list of things to be thankful for in my goal journal, I did indeed write down my immune system. And I need to get my glasses on because I cannot do this just by staring at my monitor. Oh, truck. You know, I think I am going to add, this is actually going on pretty well. I think I am going to add just 1 drop of water to it. That'd be a 6-to-1. That's hardly anything. But it'll make it smoother and it'll make it self-level a little better. And that's what I like in a base coat. Even if I have to touch up a little bit, I like my base coats to be a little bit more fluid. Especially when you're trying to get the paint to adhere into these little cracks between the little mosaic tiles. So I go up and put all of this in here. And I'm using my kind of crappy sable brush for this because I have to poke it kind of to get the paint to go in between all these little details. So I don't want to use a brush where it's going to be abusing the tip to do that. I want to use my brush I don't care about very much. It lets me poke and break any air bubbles that I get in there. So I think I mentioned yesterday, I think I'm going to do 2 videos for my YouTube channel this month. 2 little ones, because I kind of realized that I need, there's like a basic video that I really need to make. So I'll do that before I tackle the additives. Let's see, it should be 2. Then I'll have 5 fundamentals of video, 5 fundamentals of miniature painting videos on my YouTube. Starting to get up there. It'll only truly be cool when we have like 20, but that's going to take me a while. Since I took this on as kind of something extra to do every month, an extra thing on my to-do list. Thank you, Quindy. Yeah, if you are interested, go on over and give me a follow on my YouTube. I am trying to build up my YouTube following a little bit. Eventually, I want to break 1,000. So every little follow counts. Every tiny follow counts. There we go. Just kind of like evening this out. It doesn't need to be perfectly even around here because we're going to take black and we're going to bring the black around the very outside eventually. So over here, I'm going to grab a little bit of my Death Knight and block that in. Kind of wet blending it. So just ticking it a little bit. And this is actually a 2-color brush, technically what I'm doing right now. So let's actually show you that. So 2-color brush is pretty easy, and it's an old oil painter's technique where you load up your brush and you unload your brush with 1 color. Here it's the ivory. Then you dip the tip in another color, and then when you use it, you get an integral wet blend. So you see how that's blending out. Very easy. Inevitably, you lose a little bit of your darker color there, or whatever color you're using. You can do it dark to light or light to dark. It doesn't matter. But it's an easy way to lay in a very fast shadow or blend. I used to do this a lot when doing steel NMM on swords, which were very small. So 2 brush blending is pretty much just like 1 brush blending with an extra brush. Which is what David told me. Because I never bothered to like learn 2 brush because I was just like, okay, I'm one of those people, you know, clicker training with dogs. You know how people like wander around and they use a clicker to train their dog? I've tried clicker training, and I am the person who just cannot juggle a treat, a dog, and a clicker at the same time. So I am the person who cannot juggle 2 brushes and a mini and at the same time. Like, it's the same thing. Clicker training equals 2 brush blending for me. And I kind of never saw the point, but David saw me wet blend once and he's like, you essentially just 2 brush blend. You just only use 1 brush. And that explains so much. So essentially, you can 2 brush blend if it makes sense to you and if your dexterity permits it. But I personally find that 1 brush is good enough for my wet blending. 2 brush, I think, can help people if they're in drier climates where they might have more of a problem with wet blending because everything dries so fast. Wet blending, definitely, there are times when you just want to scream and knock your head against the wall when it's just not working, and often in an arid climate, it tends to be very frustrating. I've tried to do it in Santa Fe and just like really just kind of banged my head against the wall with it. Yeah, I'm going to do it again with this new puppy, Carly, but I'm going to use my mouth instead. So I'm going to do a click with my mouth instead. I actually can do a pretty loud one, so I think it'll work just fine. The only thing you need is a sharp noise. So you don't even need... You can use a word if you want. But you don't need to be juggling a clicker. So... Or I don't feel like I need to. So I'm going to try it that way. The clicker is nice because if you have fast reactions, you can instantly trigger. Like you can really instantly respond when you're trying to shape a puppy's behavior. Which is kind of the point. But I think I'll be able to do it okay. Yeah. Yeah, clicker training works. But I could never juggle it, so that's a bit of a purple shadow, and I may end up going back with a little bit of walnut just to make it a little more organic, it's a little bit too purple for my tastes. But that's fine, because we'll start out this way, and then we'll adjust it. But yeah, this puppy gets the training that, like, I never had the time to do with my other dogs because I had too many dogs. So, like, having only 1 puppy is going to be just brilliant. Because by the time I really learned about clicker training and really learned about, like, triggering and trying to mark behaviors and stuff like that, by the time I understood that, we were already on our 2nd dog and about to get our 3rd. And there was just no way. It was like, my plate was full. And it's hard to concentrate. So I'm going to, this new puppy gets the benefits of all the things that Anne has learned about dog training over the years. The puppy's probably going to, like, just roll its eyes at me and go, no. So just blocking in with the Death Knight Black again, this little shadow here. Just around everywhere I had the walnut, really, just to bring in kind of a shadow. It is very purple, so we will adjust it, but for now, it's a placeholder. Well, or you just have a consistent house thermal. Like, there are definitely breeds and mixes and dogs who are very easy. Like, who, if you don't have a neurotic dog, or you are a solid enough, confident enough leader for your neurotic dog, you're probably going to be fine. And we were fine with our dogs in general. But there were things I could have done to, like, make my dogs more comfortable when we had to leave the house with them. Like Leo was a big softie, and when he was younger, we took him to dog shows and all that stuff. But then he was always a homebody, and he had some anxiety issues when we went to a strange place until he settled in. He definitely had travel anxieties. And I feel like if I would have known more about training from what I've learned now, I could have helped him with that. I could have helped him more. So that's what kind of motivates me to do some more formal training with my dog this time, my new puppy. Because I want my new puppy to feel confident wherever we go. So, hey, Nomad Zeke, 30 months. Dang. Thank you. Thank you for the resub. But yeah, so it's stuff like that. Having had dogs of various temperaments, I could have done so much better now with what I know now to help my dogs with their little foibles. So it's not like, I mean, we could take our dogs places, and it's like not like we had issues, but I could just see. Yeah, like I want a dog that feels good, that's confident, that's not anxious, that that knows that it can always like look to me and we're gonna be good, right? I want that well-balanced dog. And I have pretty good dogs. Like Shilohs are good dogs, but they're definitely, Shilohs will read you, and Shilohs can get anxious, and they do need a lot of socialization. So I want to do it for the dog at this point. I can pretty much tackle anything at this point in my training process. I've owned everything almost. I haven't owned an outright aggressive dog, thanks God. I never want to do that, but Shilohs generally are not that. I have owned a reactive dog though, so that is now part of my wheelhouse. All of your dogs teach you something. All right, so just kind of bringing this in. I can grab a little more wet blending if I want, but that's pretty good. I'm going to back out and look at this on the camera. Yeah, that's a pretty good, that's a pretty good shadow actually. Maybe even a little bit more to the front. But yeah, like I couldn't take Leo to things like if I went to a dog seminar, like he would just be so anxious and uncomfortable. And so I don't want that with my new dog. I want her to be very like, wherever we are, it's all cool because I'm there and it's all good. That's what I want. So that's the goal. That's the main goal of the doglet training. Imminent. I've also really wanted, like I see other people with big dogs and their big dogs just are kind of like ricocheting around on the end of the leash. Just like, cause they haven't ever been taught to like focus on their person and be calm in a new environment. And I want to work on that this time with this puppy as well. Because Kiri was pretty good, but Leo was definitely a ricochet dog. Blazy was a bit of a ricochet dog. And it can be unsettling for people who aren't, who don't know big dogs or, they don't know yours. So I would like to work on that this time too. So I have all sorts of goals for my new puppy as far as just me being a better owner. And I do enjoy training. I've always enjoyed dog training, so it'll be fun. All right, so we've got kind of an outer blur here, and then we've got an inner shadow. I'm going to grab some walnut and introduce more of a brown tone to that shadow so I can knock out that purpley tone a little bit. The other way to do that, actually, let's do something clever. Let's instead of reaching for walnut, let's do something clever. So I always tell you guys that one way to mute a color is to add its complement. So here we have a purple blue that has gotten a little bit too much purple blue to be an effective shadow. So purple blue, the complements of purple is yellow and the complement of blue is orange. So maybe if we pick something like Saffron Sunset and glaze it over that, we can actually mute that down. Hey, IT Ronin, how's it going? Yeah, Kroniko. When you have multiples, then it can be good. Like it definitely, if you have your first dog trained and you get a new puppy, the puppy will absolutely learn like a lot faster from watching your old dog. But I kind of like the idea of just having the puppy, because then your puppy is like got a real motivator to bond with you, right? To learn how to communicate with you. This is why often I'll advise people like not to get two puppies too close together, because they will absolutely bond to each other, and it means it's harder for you to keep their attention. So I always, after we got Kiri very shortly after we got Leo, and I always kind of told myself that once I was down to like only getting, to getting another dog, I wanted it to be an only dog. For that reason, I want that bond. All right, we've got Saffron Sunset. I'm going to thin it way down. So I put 2 drops in there, so I'm going to put 6 drops of water in, which is a 1-to-3. But Saffron Sunset, thank you. Saffron Sunset is actually got more body, like more oomph than you give it credit for. Even at 1-to-3, it's still pretty strong. I was using it the other day on my NMM copper. That's up, by the way, for those who are my patrons. If you didn't see it, if you're at the $5 or higher level, the NMM copper PDF went up yesterday. So I'm going to blow on this a little bit. I got to have it all dry before I do that glaze. So we're going to glaze this orange over this blue purple. And the theory behind this, thank you for the link, Quindy, to the Patreon. Hello, Jormander. Yeah, he's gotten there pretty much. Somehow, mysteriously, we managed to finish this model that I just was raging against. I might have to wait for that glaze. We might have to do some verdigris. I want to make sure this is absolutely dry before we apply this glaze. So I'm going to actually hold off. I'm going to mix up my some of my verdigris, and we're going to put the green tones on the legs, which is the other thing we have not done. Alrighty, so let's get some of our ancient oak out. I'm going to do 4 drops of that. I'm going to do a mix of ancient oak and the copper verdigris color. Just 1 big smear of ancient oak, probably 3 drops of copper verdigris, and then we'll go up to pure verdigris. I tend to like to do that. I tend to like to mix in between a verdigris color because the copper verdigris has a lot of pop to it, a lot of punch. And I like to have a transition color. Otherwise, my starting green, when you start layering up bronze verdigris, you tend to go with a very dark green. Same with copper. So it helps to have kind of a mixture in the middle. So those are our colors. Pop that back. I'm going to get closer. And sit and stay, Mr. Golem, for while I mix some water into these. There. We'll do that. So about 3-to-1 start. Yes, the challenge here is going to be, it's not just training the new puppy, it's training David. Training David to also train the new puppy. It's funny. And we'll mix this up. So now we've got, here I'll show you my colors, how the mixes came out. Alrighty. So that's the range that it comes out. This is almost like Highland, not Highland moss. It's the pale lichen. It's almost that color. And we're just going to come in and we put a lot of green. We put some green on this side, so we're going to bring in the green on the other side now. All around anywhere where water would pool, which is all of these nice little spaces in between all these details. Using a stippling brush stroke, so I'm just like making irregular little blotches of corrosion. And there'd definitely be some of it there. And often this dark green layer isn't going to show up very well to your like naked eye. Like you won't notice it as much, and that's because you're putting it over a fairly, medium dark brown, so the color just isn't going to show up. It's going to kind of mute out. But you want that because then when you start building up the other colors is when you'll see it. Yeah, oh no, I was right. David has never owned a dog, ever. Kiri was his first doglet experience, and she was already well set in her ways. We did train her together to go and sit on her pillow when we were eating supper. Like I kind of showed him, how when you are consistent, the dog will behave, but you have to be consistent. You cannot just go and feed her near the table and then expect her to always go to her pillow. So he did good at that. So I think this is going to be fine. I don't think it'll be with it nearly as fraught with peril as it could be. So pretty much anywhere that you could think that water would kind of sit and cause corrosion is where you can put the green. And you could go on this kind of model with all of these little nooks and crannies. You could go pretty crazy with the green if you wanted to. We could have made this... yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, Cornico, but I am kind of used to being the evil parent. Like, in my experience with my ex, like, he was totally the fun dad, and I was totally the disciplinarian, shall we say. So, yes, that is a thing, totally. But David also liked that Kiri was well behaved and would go and lay down on her pillow and not beg at the table. So he does have some incentive to help me train the dog correctly. There we go. A nice blob of green there, because that would definitely get a lot of corrosion down inside this big section. So you can see all the green coming in on this side now, which is really cool. But yeah, we will see. We will see. We'll see how long we have to wait for our puppy. April is when we start getting like pins and needles, because that's when the breeding is supposed to happen. So we'll see if that takes place on schedule. Bridget's driving halfway across the country to do it. So you can see all the green on this and how that, see how that like just, it gives it a great, you know, feel with all that green building up. And once you've got enough of it, then you'll start to see it a lot more. Yeah, missed him on the nose. That was back at the old house, with my old relationship with my ex. We had a reactive dog, Thorn. And Thorn was pretty dominant and pretty high drive also, and pretty just, yeah, he was a hardcore dog and what we call a harder temperament. And there were chows on the yard across our back fence in the yard. And they were very aggressive chows. They would run to the fence and just hit it. And of course, with a reactive dog, that's going to drive them nuts. So Zach would always complain that Thorny, you know, wouldn't stay away from the fence, but he also wouldn't follow up. Like with a dog like that, you have to prove to that dog, no, if you don't come away from the fence, I am going to come get you. So it got to the point where he was complaining that Thorn wouldn't listen to him in the backyard, but Thorn listened to me just fine in the backyard. But it's a follow-up, you're right. And that makes it hard, right? When you makes it hard when you have a new puppy and your whole family, especially if you have kids, like how are you going to ever be consistent? You just do your best. But I mean, most dogs turn out just fine. So despite us humans. But I think it'll be fine. I don't know. I have faith in David. Alrighty, got that beautiful green. Look at that patina that's coming on. Isn't that cool? We've got some reddish tones still from the original metallic. We've got the browns, and we've got the kind of the brassy, bronzy color, the tarnished bronze color. And then we got those beautiful greens coming in. So, hey, Dogfather, how's it going? We are, hey, my base is probably dry. Okay, so let's take a break from putting on these beautiful dark greens. I really actually like how the greens are looking on the feet right now. I think I'm not going to put very much brighter verdigris here. I think I just really love the look that we're getting right now. So yeah, so let us grab our Saffron Sunset. And remember, the reason we're doing this glaze is that I feel like our shadow is too purple. So it's got purple and blue. The complementary colors to purple and blue are yellow and orange. So we're using a yellowy orange, i.e. Saffron Sunset. And we're going to try to do a glaze. And it's kind of rough to do a glaze over something that's so heavily textured like this. So you kind of just have to kind of push it around. Use a brush that you don't mind kind of smushing the point of and kind of push it around so it doesn't pool. Although, honestly, with this much texture, if you did get a little bit of coffee stain, like ringing, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. You're still gonna, like, put colors over the top of this. So notice, see how that kind of mutes out that blue and purple now? That's more of it's graying it out. So this is a way to do it without just throwing brown over everything. Whenever you think a color is just too bright or too unnatural, figure out what the complementary color is. Remember, that'll be just across from it on the color wheel. And if it's a mixture of two colors like this is, a blue and a purple, just take the complementaries of both those colors, a yellow and an orange, and grab a color that's close to that. It also gives you a more interesting look, to be fair. And in this case, I kind of imagine it's also like the light bouncing off the bronze that's giving us kind of that effect. I like it, so I'm going to keep doing it. You can test it on a small part. Give it a chance, though, because when you first do this, you're going to be like, that looks weird. It's just going to turn to mud. But you have to give it a chance to dry and to show you how it's going to set up. Because you can't really, sometimes you can't really judge it until it's dried. So I'm going to grab that, and now I'm going to take my brush. I am going to try to kind of slurp up some excess out of these little cracks and stuff. Just a little. I don't want any big puddles. Missed a spot over here. And a glaze is a really, really light coat, so it's not going to shove things too brightly. I like that, actually. Morning, crows. So that is pretty okay. So I'm going to go back and work on my greens. I need to get my green verdigris over here, my dark greens on this side of the leg. Then we can start adding in the brights. So when I go to do a pattern in the mosaic here, I'll probably start mapping it in with really thin paint and build it up. And that will enable me to kind of fade it going into the shadows, but still have it be there. And I'm still debating over what color I want the waves to be on this. Purple isn't really a traditional, I should go kind of with a teal almost. Like, or the green. Maybe I should go with the green. I don't know, I'm thinking about it. I also want to get some definition into here, so I may grab a light brown, a warm light brown, and kind of wash it over the top. Maybe some Nod Bone plus russet brown. Really depends. All right, well, let's do our green. So, Ancient Oak, to accentuate all of these areas. Oh, yeah, I'm getting some dropped frames, Quindy. I just got some. Oh, actually, yeah, over the last 2 minutes. Except that was a while ago. Yeah, my dropped frames were supposed to be like after this, right after the start, according to this, my notifications. It's not giving me any problems right now. Let me do a quick speed test, though. Just to see, because David's on the interwebs this morning as well here. All right, and while we do that, we will continue to add our dark green here. So I'm stippling it and trying to keep irregular patterns, little dots and blotches, as well as more solid buildup between areas where I feel like it would be. Yeah, my upload's good. It's above 30, 32. Not bad. So right now it appears not to be a problem. Between 30 and 32. Oh. Yeah, no idea if it's restream. But it does not appear to be my end, so that's comforting. Block in a lot of this. Block in some down here. Going pretty heavy on the verdigris and the interior, because why not? No problem. No reason not to. Lots of green. There we go. Lovely, lovely greens. Love it. Really, really like doing this. It's fun. It's fun. This has been a fun exercise in bronze, actually. And I'll have to mix up my initial color also to bring in some highlights. But right now I love that green. Look at those beautiful dark greens on the feet. Lovely. Okay, cool. So now it's time to bring in our middle color of verdigris. Although, actually, before I do that, I'm going to bring in a wash on this. Yeah, let's go back and forth between our base and our upper. So in order to get all these little mosaics to show up, I think I do actually want to throw a wash over them. Although I just realized that I could do another layer on some of this as well. Because it's not quite as solid as I would want it. So I'm going to just do a quick layer over this, do some verdigris, then do a wash. So when you have to work on something like this, where you've got to, you're going to be doing glazes or washes, it's going to take time for it to dry. Work on something else at the same time so you can swap back and forth. That way you're never impatient waiting for something to dry. You always have something else that you're working on. It's just standard tactic. For sculptors, they're always working on a bunch of different stuff for that reason, right, Julie? Work on several projects at once, so when you do the green on one, you can leave it to set, and then you can go and work on a different thing, so you don't leave fingerprints everywhere. There, so nice solid coat on the cream now. I'm going to leave that to set and dry, and then we'll do a wash. So middle verdigris time. And the middle verdigris, if you recall, is a mixture of our very, very bright copper verdigris and our ancient oak. Kind of a bridging color. 4 on the desk at the moment, yeah. So because this dark ancient oak is so different from this, it wouldn't look quite right. And if you look at copper oxidation, there are different grades of it. So as it builds up, it gets lighter and lighter. So this will be our bridging color to go up to that. And you want to put these lighter verdigreens are going to build up off of these dark greens. And so wherever the dark green starts to really build up, it's going to start build up lighter and lighter. So you don't want to put your medium green out here on a metallic surface. You want to put it over a surface where the dark green is. And you want to specifically pay attention now to places where you think the water will really be pooling and bring that up. So let's get closer. It's like there, all up around this little design. You're going to be getting lighter greens. If you ever feel like maybe you've buried all your dark greens, you can bring that in around the edges to make sure that you are you don't lose all those beautiful dark greens. And that's how you build up that idea, that illusion that there's corrosion building up. You can use, I believe that David actually brought this up on my Saturday stream. You can also use pigments, powdered pigments, with solvents to kind of build up a clumpiness if you don't want to do it all with paint. But I've never had, like, I don't like using solvents, so I tend to just use paint when I can and suggest the texture. Especially on 28s. Bigger models, I feel like it's better to suggest texture. And this is a big guy, so you could. But I feel like you could also just get away with just suggesting it with paint, and you can do it pretty well at this scale. There. Grab more of my intermediate green. And if you feel like your intermediate green is maybe like this is pretty thick, I think maybe I'll put a little bit of water in it. If you're getting like little dots in it, you feel like it's hard for you to get a random pattern because all you're getting are little tight dots and you want them to blend in more, then throw some water into your intermediate color, because there is a ton of white in copper verdigris. And so if you don't want it to really, the brush strokes to really stand out, if you want it to more blend and kind of layer up, then you're going to need to add add water, because there's a lot of white in that color. And even though you've got a fair amount of ancient oak in this mix as well, that white takes total priority and will take over. You can see that I still am putting some very tight detailing here. I would need to load a lot more water in. But I don't mind having a little bit of kind of speckly action going on with this. So I'll run with it. If I don't like it, I can always glaze over it with my ancient oak. And you don't want to put it necessarily everywhere. You want to focus on these lighter verdigris colors really on places where the water would really pool. It can be kind of counterintuitive because you're building up light colors in places where you might put normally shadows, since the water is drawn downward by gravity. So it will pull into lower areas where you might otherwise normally shade. That's why I don't put it necessarily everywhere. Just little bits. That's coming around well. But so you get an effect like this, which is, I think, just beautiful, really. When you're doing big open areas, remember there's bound to be like streaking, like streaks coming down from like bolts and stuff. Where water pools and then drips. So rust can absolutely form in drips, and you'll see it on flat surfaces. So we don't have any flat surfaces on this guy, so that's why I'm not doing it. But I did it on my bust that I'm working on Saturdays. We just did a bunch of shaded metallics. So just taking a line of this verdigris and bringing it down between the toes. Some up top. So this is a really fun kind of thing to do, because it's not super hard, but it makes everything look so cool. Everybody's busy working today. I can tell. Not a lot of chatter. Remind me, Quindy, is it Alpaca Nation Day today? I never remember. Or is it Crow's Nest Day? Or no, it was Crow's Nest Day yesterday. Oh yeah, Twitch is just twitchy these last couple days, Polly. It was windy here yesterday, so I'm kind of surprised we didn't have an internet issue, but today is good. So bringing in my high verdigris just to get a look at it. It's very light. And I think I'm going to actually knock it back. Kind of throw some water at it. I think I actually want to save that bright verdigris for only a few spots. And I think I'm actually going to mix just a tiny bit of ancient oak into it to dim it a little bit and to bring it more in line with the other color. Oh, okay. I see. All right. So we may or may not have an alpaca appearance. Got it. Alpaca appearance. It's smart of him to take days off every once in a while. But then the problem is it if you're like really like used to working that you take the day off and then you don't know what to do with yourself. That always happens to me. We love him because he's a diva though. He's funny. I always think I should take more days off. Although I am coming up. Yeah, and I totally forgot. You know what, Quindy? I'm going to put on my list. Have to put on my to-do list. Hold on. Focus on that foot while I put on my to-do list. Message Quindy days off for today. Because I have stuff coming up where I will not be on. And I forgot. This is why I use a to-do list. Because, or to-do app, because without it, I forget things. About Arizona, Adepticon, and puppies. So yeah, I guess I'm taking some time off coming up. That's good. There. You are officially on my list, Quindy. But yes, he is also such a diva. Fair. There we go. That's coming up nicely. Just bringing in more of this. If I feel like I need more of my ancient oak, I'm just going to bring that in also. There we go. Coming up nicely. So remember, you do want to leave some of this bronze here and there so that you can see it. It's fun to go totally whole hog with your verdigris, but then you lose kind of the bronze behind it. Oh, I think all of us are on a known weirdos list. Come on. I remember hearing when I was in college that people who joined the Society for Creative Anachronism went on automatically went onto a list, a government list of potential insurrectionists, and I was like, if I'm going to be on a government list, I would want to be on a list because I was hanging out with a bunch of cool people with swords, so I'm okay with that. And so you're going to get more buildup closer to things that are going to catch water. So don't make the mistake of putting your buildup in the middle of big open areas. Try to put the thicker buildup colors close to something that's going to catch the moisture. This is going to give you a more realistic effect. Bringing in a little bit more there. Don't want to break up some of these big areas. Here's a place where we could actually put in some dribbles, like I was talking about. How about a couple there? Yeah, there's sound. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that is a questionable story, Miss Demp. Absolutely. It's crap you hear in college. 75% of it is actually not even close to true. And 5% of it is true, and it's not the 5% you would guess. Getting some nice verdigris built up here. So this is painstaking work if you want it to look really cool, but when you've got a model with so many little tiny details, like being painstaking about this step pays off. Just makes everything look cooler. But I always will stipple and make this an irregular buildup rather than just, putting a line of it. Different areas corrode at different rates. Nothing corrodes in one flat, even sheet, so keep that in mind when you are building up stuff. And here, I'm keeping that crack, but I'm stippling the corrosion along the lower edge so that I don't lose all my lines, but I can still suggest the buildup. Yeah, this model is pretty much the reason I ordered that and the Centaur. I like the Centaur too. Well, and I like the Hydra, but this was a big reason I ordered that expansion. But yes, this is all the corrosion is pretty time consuming if you want it to look good. Aging copper blocks in Minecraft. Yep. Yeah. Fair. I like Hydras for Hydra's sakes, but I do like the new Hydra because I like the precision of the scale pattern. I think it's good to have both types. Oh, wow, Cornico, yeah. You have a legion of Greek golems. All right. Let us do that wash that I was talking about. Let's take some Gnawed Bone, which is Fast Palette Color from, I think, I don't remember. I don't remember what palette it's from. It's from one of those dang palettes. It's like Adventure Colors or Surf and Turf or whatever the other one, Gloom and Grave. And yes, I know it's not Surf and Turf, but I call it that anyway. Oh, geez, Cornico. Paint one copper, one bronze, and one iron. And watch them pee their pants. Like, give them 3 different golems with 3 different sets of abilities to fight. A long time, Polly. A long time. It really depends, like... And it will change over time, too, as we do more Bones USA, right? Which we can make in-house. But it's easily like a year and a half at least, and then the pandemic was in there too, so it's like long time. Oh, that's what you're doing? Yeah, they'll hate you. Make sure it's a super fun fight in like a pseudo-Greek arena with like different obstacles on the ground and things they can interact with. And you should have a golem that's like the Greek Emperor golem up there with a thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on how good they do, to encourage them to do highly cinematic things. Just saying. It's like the Greek Emperor Golem only has one moving part. It's like that or that. I'm full of ideas. And I like fun encounters, even if they have a hint of humor in them, especially if they have a hint of humor in them. Plus your players will totally enjoy it. Yeah, it's the Romans, but who cares, Thormel? sure the Greeks had their, like, you know, sports. That's just trolling. I guess if they're trolling you, though. Let me see. This might be a little strong. Maybe not, though. I'm going to spread it out. Yeah, I think I want to add just a little bit of water. So the more you use sealer instead of water, the more your color is going to stay stronger with a wash, and the more water you use, the lighter it will get as it dries. Going to fade this wash out into our shadow there, which is going to serve to further gray it out. So that's going to bring out our pattern nicely, not too much. And it also darkens everything, so I can bring it back up with a nice cream color. Yes, Pathfinder. Yeah, a while ago it started to feel more like I started getting pretty stressed out near the end of like the pandemic and I felt like I needed to back off and have a few less commitments. So I moved the stream to Saturday, and it's just painting. It's my competition painting stream now. Yeah, Ruby was a great character. That's my problem. I make great NPCs. Like, the minor NPCs are the ones everybody loves. Maybe I'll use her in a book someday. That's the other thing about running a game, is when you write as well as try to GM, it takes the same like creative energy to run a game as it does to write a novel. So when I refocused on my writing, I found that I had less energy for the game, and refocusing on my writing was really a priority for me. So it was a cool game, though. I had a lot of fun with you guys. Maybe someday I'll do a one-off comeback, you know. Maybe we'll throw an odd session in here and there when I get sick of painting my competition stuff. All right, so we got now a nice wash. And as it dries, it will lighten a little bit, but it should keep a nice darker tone in between the mosaics. So it should let us still do a cream colored plus another color mosaic. It also has further muted out the shadow color down here, which is nice. Crows. I don't mind playing Pathfinder, but I don't enjoy running it because it's very 3.5, and that was a very difficult system for me to run. Just a lot to it. All right, so let's go back and do more verdigris and let our wash dry. Yeah, because now we've got definition between our little tiny mosaics. We're progressing, guys. We're progressing. All right. Oh, and we've got about an hour left, or a half hour left. Yeah, I didn't hear much about Pathfinder 2nd. Is it good? Kronika, are you running second edition Pathfinder? Is that your game? Yeah, I think it's because like I've been doing D&D for so many years, and I like memorized like 2nd edition because it was around for so long, and then we went to 3, and I was like, My problem with it was just when you got past a certain level, like at that point, the boss encounters are just so complicated, and there's so many powers to remember, and they synergize with each other, and it just felt like a job to me at that point running the game. So I love to storytell, but I definitely am not like a big systems person. I always loved Storyteller System, Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, because it made a very intuitive system that sure wasn't granular, but enabled me to do fun storytelling. And that was really what I wanted to do, so. Fifth edition seems like it's a good synergy overall. But I didn't run it up to any top levels, so I don't know. Ah. Oh, good. So second, they did better balancing on second. That's nice. I was going to ask you what the differences are. It felt like it could use a balance, so. The one Pathfinder thing I always wanted to run was Mythic Adventures. Because that's just me being a fairy tale and folklore person. That's like right up my alley. And I thought it would be super fun to run a fairy tale world with that. Super cool. But I'd almost have to like pre-create characters for it. Yeah. But I think that's for me, Valandar. That's on the GM totally. Like as a GM, I have no compunctions. I would rather have a very simple monster that I can then choose to spice up. I guess if they gave you some templates for it, that would be cool. Um, but I like simple monsters that I can do that to, and I would prefer as a GM, I prefer to add that stuff myself, so I can keep it in theme for the story or the setting. But yeah, it's a hard line, like because as a GM, right, you want to have to do less prep, but at the same time, you also want to have a certain amount of creative control over the game and the monsters and the encounters and all of that, right? So I always found that to be an interesting dance of I want more stuff that I can use that's pre-done, but I want more freedom to do exactly the thing I want. Yeah, that's true. I did like the layer actions, Sigwolf. I thought that was smart, and it's something that should have been in the game a long time ago. And it kind of was here and there in various encounters and various things, but it's more standard. I really like that. Ah, yeah, multi-stage battles are fun. Yep, yep, yep. I think all good GMs do their own kind of like, creative take on spin on monsters when they have the time to do it. I think that we as GMs enjoy throwing kind of something with a different spin at you guys, watching you like react to it and seeing what you do. Just gonna put a bit. Yeah, I feel like that area is not reading great. Sometimes when you're working in an area, you're just like, oh, I don't really think this is working that great. Usually it's just that you're not following the line of where the corrosion would be, and you just need to tighten that up. Yeah, using the environment for combat is fun. Yeah, I did that actually. That's one of the earliest things I ever ran for my little brother when I was a kid. Valandar, I had a we liked Thundercats and everything. So we weren't anime watchers because it was a lot harder to find anime when you were a kid in the '80s. But we had Thundercats and other shows that were very strongly influenced by Japanese animation, and I made a monster that did just that it turned into something else when you killed it. And it's still the fight that my brother remembers. Like, he was so young when I was running that. I think, like, he was, like, 9 and I was, like, 12. He still remembers that, even now. A little bit more of that and that. We're getting around. We're getting all of our corrosion done. Yeah, we don't have a game right now. I need to decide if I'm going to have Paint Club this weekend when David's not here. Or if I just want the house to myself. Uh-oh. Color brain. Found a color value wheel because I wanted to understand value contrast versus just dark to light. The one I found had all the commonly used watercolors on a value wheel. I thought it'd be interesting to see how the Reaper colors fall in that chart. Yeah, I can give you like some equivalents. Watercolors usually have a lot of analogs and acrylics. Oils sometimes have different colors, but so which colors, Bryce? Like, which watercolor colors are you trying to figure out what they might be? Because I've done a lot of comparison for acrylic lately, for artist acrylic. I might be able to answer a question or two. Most of the earth colors I know. And some of the greens. Although you may have to mix. It depends. All right, a bit more verdigris here. And I may have to grab my color palette book too to look at some analog colors of watercolor. But I think watercolor and acrylic, those colors tend to be very, very close together. They use. That's one of my projects, Bryce, for the Patreon, is to do a PDF. It'll probably do it after I'm done with the pentads in the $5 tier. Analogs for artist colors in MSP. So what's gonna pop is usually the complementary like stuff. So whenever you put a complementary color onto a model, it's gonna make, like, if I add red to this model, it'll make the green be stronger. If it's a dark red, the green will pop more. It's usually the lighter of the two colors that will benefit from that, in my experience. The lighter or more saturated of the two colors. So if you're using like a golden blonde hair and you put a dark purple somewhere, that blonde is going to pop more, even if the purple's really like subdued, like here. James is a master because he's been doing 2D art for so long, but that's kind of... So it does have something to do with light and dark contrast, because the lighter of those two complementary colors will generally be the one to benefit, in my understanding. So like if you're doing red hair on a model, or you're doing little pops of red intensity, like say you're doing a noir scheme with like black and white and red, if you want that red to pop even more, you'll sneak some dark greens into your blacks. If that's not what you're asking, then keep talking and I'll try to figure it out. But as far as what you just described, that's what I would say would be what was happening. Because usually that's how you emphasize, like if you want a color to really come out, you've got to put its complement somewhere on the model. Yeah, and David also is a master of light. That's why I say that here in North America, we need to start teaching light theory a lot earlier, like they do in Europe. It's a lot more like we still tend to go back to the dry brush wash, like basics, because we our community has come up from such a gaming culture. But they teach a lot more about lighting when they're teaching in Europe. And so I think that you get people who, coming out of that teaching, who have a better understanding of light. And it's something that absolutely can be taught. So it's not like you're not going to be able to master it, but it's just going to take work. I'm listening to an audiobook that talks a lot about deliberate practice and how you get better at things by pushing your boundaries to just where you're just a little bit uncomfortable. So if you are uncomfortable with light and feel like you're not good at it, that's when you have to start painting it, start working with it more. Well, excellent. I like to be useful. Anns love to be useful. It's one of the things we do. Get these areas around his toes full of verdigris here, because it's fun. So you've got some really nice, this is coming up really well. Gotta remember to put some green up here. And actually this whole muscle. There we go. Right, it's not just adding white, it's also doing complementary colors, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, using complementary colors in really subtle ways can enhance your models that way. Like, of course you can use it in a non-subtle way as well. You can just like go for it, but if you want your gold to really pop, then you can throw a bunch of purple on the model. But if that's not part of your basic color scheme, just little touches of a complementary color near or in the shadows of another color can accentuate. But I like to be sneaky about it. Like, it's cool to like just sneak it into your basing or something sometimes. The complementary. But yeah, that's something that people don't get about complementary colors is we're always in like kindergarten and our grade school here in the States, we're always taught, complementary colors make the other, go well with the other colors, like purple and yellow go together and red and green go together and, blue and orange go together. But it's not really that. It's that complementary colors make each other more intense. So if you put purple next to yellow, the yellow will look brighter. If you put green somewhere in a model with lots of red, that red will suddenly look really bright. It'll catch the eye. Even if it's a muted red, it'll still stand out more. Well, and honestly, understanding NMM is going to improve your TMM, Valendar. Because you still want your TMM to, like, you still want to, when you're putting like shadows and shading on your TMM, you still want it to be in line with how the model would actually reflect, which is the essence of NMM. So I feel that learning NMM helps your metallics. It's a nice verdigris leaking in there. And I think I want to put a little bit of this kind of coming down over the front too, just to break things up. But yeah, always try to get all the tools in your toolbox, at least a familiarity with your basic tools. Because as you paint and as you get better and as you maybe you start painting slightly different things or different scales, you may find that you go back to those pieces of knowledge later when you're even more interested in them, and then you've got a basis to build from, as opposed to having to learn everything from the ground up. Because every tool you add to your toolbox, you're going to see in context with other things you're learning, and that helps you kind of internalize about it. So like when you learn the basics of NMM and then you're painting metallics and you see how the metal is reflecting light from your window or something, you can be like, oh yeah, that's one of those NMM principles. And it helps you to think about it. And then later, if you get a sudden really heavy interest in NMM, you'll have that knowledge. It'll be in your brain already. So then you can build on it. So I think it's very useful to try a little bit of everything. Because down later in your painting journey, it's never not useful. And you'll be surprised how you'll end up utilizing knowledge about some things. It's true. I am trying to learn a living, and I am very generous on here. But it's what I do. It's what I teach. And honestly, a lot of people on here, because it's more, I think it's about teaching style too. So I don't mind like teaching you guys. And a lot of people who watch this stream who really, who enjoy my teaching style, then do sign up to the Patreon. And I am eternally grateful. I'm going to put some verdigris up here on these little guys. Just little dabs of it. I also have to come back in and throw some metallic highlights on here. Because I darkened down the metals here a lot, and I need to bring back some of it. But I want to get a little green on here. Thank you guys. I'm glad you enjoy the Patreon. I also enjoy the Patreon. Looking forward to starting the 2 new paint-along models this month. A little bit more verdigris. Just little dabs here and there on the belt. We are almost... Yeah, well, that's why I don't mind repeating stuff, right? Like, I do like to choose, like, different subjects, like, for different models on this stream and on the Patreon, but, I mean, this is why, like, in another 3 years, my Patreon will be even cooler because I will have discussed, like, a single topic, like, in different ways on 3 different models, which is actually more useful than just having one tutorial, especially for complex topics. Sometimes it'll click when you see it done on a particular model or in a particular way. And also, I'm still learning. Like, I think that especially when you teach, you are always learning, like, a new tactic or new take. And sometimes even in the process of trying to teach somebody about something, you'll make a new realization about the topic yourself as a teacher. And so, like, I definitely... teach some things differently now than I did like 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So doing a new video on a topic lets me revisit and like put in some of the new knowledge that I've gotten. Look at all that tasty verdigris. Crazy talk. So much verdigris. Let's back up. Look at that, guys. Shiny. Or not shiny. Oh, bye, Crowley. See ya. So, yeah. Darn. Looking good. I think I do want just a little bit. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Yeah. Unshiny. He's looking sweet. Just checking to see if I got all the areas I wanted. It's a little bit on the inside here. Yeah. Yeah, now my pink club is online, Tig Wolf. It's still Saturday, though. It's just a little bit later in the day. I do 3:30 USA Central, because I still need to eat lunch out here on the West Coast. Alrighty. Grr. We did it. Like, we actually have a lot. We painted this sucker. Like, we still have stuff we have to do, but it is really close to done at this point. Yeah, I know, in person. That's why we also have a paint club out here, or we're trying to get it going. Alrighty, that's pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy with this. All right, what can we do for our last few minutes? I guess I only have a few minutes because I started really on time today. So what we did today, I guess, talked about glazing complementary colors. We put a wash over our mosaic to get the little mosaic thingies to stick out more so that we could highlight them and introduce other colors and stuff. We worked with several different colors of verdigris, ancient oak and copper verdigris, and a mixture of both of them, which helps as a bridging color when you are doing any sort of corrosion like this. So yeah, we'll do the mosaic next time. We're going to bring our metallic bronze color back in to do some edge touch-ups and brightening to bring up the metallic just a little bit on here, places like the skirt where I really, really dirtied it up. And we'll block in our mosaics next time, maybe even finish our mosaics next time. It won't take long, it's just basing. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Thursday is hair day. So come back for hair day, everybody. We are finishing up some fur tomorrow, and I believe you guys wanted me to use like violet red and stuff on her shirt and stuff. So violet red and stuff like that. So we're going to probably start on her other colors for her blouse and stuff. And and we'll finish up. We'll probably do her eyes, and we'll finish up the fur. We need to lighten up the fur on her hands and her feet and her little tail. So yeah, that is what we are doing tomorrow with the Ms. Hairfolk. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. Yep, and I will see you all. I have to go and figure out if I'm actually losing my fiance today to the skiing or if I'm not. It's all up in the air. Thanks, everybody, and I hope you have a fantastic hump day, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.